yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabla. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabla. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom umevorach. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom umevorach.
Good evening, Shabbat shalom, and welcome to our services, and to all of you out there. What's funny is for all of the people watching virtually, they say, I wait till Tuesday. So welcome on Tuesday, because that's when you're watching, even though we're here live on Friday night. We're glad to have so many of you with us. And it's interesting that as the heat starts to bake in Texas and Florida, all of a sudden people seem to come back for services, which is a nice thing. We're welcoming all of you back. We're going to begin with the lighting of the candles. Is there someone who would like to light candles for us? The cantor sings, you light. It's very simple. It's the same tune we use in Boca. So if you want, you can come up next time. We'll try the Houston tune for lighting candles.
We'll co-lighting.
Okay, thank you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
May the Shabbat candles we now light inspire us to see justly and gently, look honestly and with kindness, and to see what's holy in each other. I'll help you down. No, that's good. I got you. We turn in our prayer books to page 4, the middle of the page. Hinei ma tov, how good and pleasant it is to be together.
And it is so good and so pleasant that we are actually able to be here in this space together. So please take just a moment to say Shabbat Shalom or to introduce yourself to someone sitting nearby. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Well, this past week we were celebrating the festival of Shavuot. We don't have a regular service always during the week, so this is a little bit afterwards, and that's what I'll be talking about in my sermon as well. But also part of Shavuot is one of the 4 times where the Yizkor prayers are recited, and we know at Seacrest in San Diego they didn't even have a rabbi during the week to have their Yizkor prayers. So I said, we'll do Al-Malai tonight, and it's a memorial prayer. So this is our part of our Yizkor prayers that will before we begin our Shabbat prayer. So if you'd all rise as the cantor continues.
תחת כנפי השכינה במעלים קדושים אתרים כזר הרקיע מזהיר את נשמת כולנו שלכם לעולמים בעל הרחמים הסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור חיים את נשמתם אדוני הוא נחלתם וינוח בשלום על משכבם ונאמר Amen.
O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to our loved ones who have gone to their eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that they performed in the land of the living. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life, for the Lord is their portion. May they rest in peace. Amen. You may be seated. As we return to our prayer books, page 8 at the bottom of the page, let's continue responsively with our family prayer. May we never take for granted the gift of Shabbat as we sit nestled in the Rocky Mountains, sharing this humble moment with family and friends. May the satisfaction of celebrating Shabbat hearten our spirits, and let Shabbat peace bring quiet to our souls. Allow this time set aside for song and prayer to bring us closer together in thoughts and deeds. Let the space we share become our place of devotion, glowing with reverence and filled with our traditions. May the end of this week encourage us to examine our actions, and let us look ahead toward the new week so we'll be worthy of all of God's blessings. At the top of page 8, as we welcome the angels of peace, We join together, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharetz, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachei Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ani L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Well, as we lift our eyes to our mountains, it's really becoming more and more beautiful as we enter into summer. But so too did the Israelites as the pilgrims approaching Jerusalem had their own mountain. They lift their eyes. They cried out in unison, "From where does our help come?" We join together, page 12 at the top, as Sinai.
As Sinai, El Harim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. As Sinai, El Harim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri, Me'im Adonai. Oseh Shamayim Ba'aretz. Ezri, Me'im Adonai. Oseh Shamayim Ba'aretz. Et Sinai, El Harim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Et Sinai, El Harim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri, Me'im Adonai. Oseh Shamayim Ba'aretz. Ezri, Me'im Adonai. Oseh Shamayim Ba'aretz.
And as we travel back to the 16th century, to the town of Sfat, at that time the center of Jewish mysticism, where Shlomo Alkabetz wrote the beautiful prayer, Lecha Dodi. We turn to page 16 and join together.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat ka, Pnei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat ka, Pnei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha dodi, likrat ka, Pnei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat ka, Pnei Shabbat nikavela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad, Adonai echad u'shema echad. L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila, lecha dodi, likrat ka, Pnei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat ka, Pnei Shabbat nikavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki hi mikol ha'veracha, mirosh mikedem nisucha, sof ma'aseh b'machsheva tchila. Lecha dodi, likrat ka, Pnei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha dodi, likrat ka, Pnei Shabbat nikavela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzi mitoch ha'afecha, Rav l'shevet be'emet halacha, והוא יחמול עלייכם לחדותי לקראת פני שבת נקבלה לך לחדותי לקראת פני שבת נקבלה.
The bottom of page 18, we rise, face the rear of the sanctuary as we greet the Sabbath bride.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, לחדותי לקראת פני שבת נקבלה לך לחדותי לקראת פני שבת נקבלה לחדותי לקראת פני שבת נקבלה לך לחדותי לקראת פני שבת נקבלה.
May be seated. The top of page 21 as we continue with Psalm 92. It's known as the Psalm for the Sabbath day. It's one of the oldest psalms that we sing and recite, supposedly recited for the first time in the temple in Jerusalem on Shabbat. We'll continue responsively the top of page 21. It's good to give thanks to you, O Lord, to praise your name through song, to speak in the morning of your loving kindness and your faithfulness each night. The music of the lute and the harp, melody of the lyre, I'll sing with my delight as we continue at the bottom of page 20.
Sadikatamar Yifrach Ke'erez Bavanon Yizkeh Shetulim Beveit Adonai Bechatrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Deseva Deshenim Dera'ananim Yehiu Lehagid Ki Yashar Adonai Suri Belov Latavo.
In 1921 in the Boston Globe, there was a column called Dr. Crane Answers Questions. And that's our reading on page 23. It's called Just for Today, and we're going to have you lead this because no one knows this yet. Oh, and you're going to find out. But there's a Kiddush cup that has been hand-blown glass by our own Ben Belgrade. And for all the B'nai Mitzvah now, get those cups. So you could at least show us who you are. You'll lead us in Just for Today. You think your dad's the rabbi? You can do this stuff too.
Thank you. Just for today, I will live one day only, forgetting yesterday and tomorrow, and not trying to solve the whole problem of life at once.
Just for today, I will be unafraid of life and death, unafraid to enjoy the beautiful and be happy. People are as happy as they make up their minds to be.
Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is, and not try to adjust everything to suit me. If I cannot have what I like, I will try to like what I have.
Just for today, I'll be agreeable, cheerful, charitable, do my best, praise people for what they can do, not criticize them for what they cannot do. And if I find fault, I'll forgive it and forget it. I'll try not to improve nor regulate anybody except myself.
Just for today, I will have a plan. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have one. It will save me from worry, hurry, and indecision.
Just for today, I'll get people off my nerves and not get on theirs.
I will appreciate them for what they do and what they are. Just for today, I will not show it if my feelings are hurt.
Just for today, I'll find a little time for quiet, to relax, and to realize what life is and can be. Time to think about God and get a better perspective of myself.
Just for today, I will look at life with fresh eyes and discover the wonder of it. I will know that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
Thank you. Page 24, as we rise, continue with our call to worship and join together in the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Maybe seated. When we look around us and it just gets more and more beautiful every day, we think of God's wondrous creations. We'll continue responsibly at the bottom of page 28. As we join together on this Shabbat Eve, we take in the greatness of God's creations. As the snow melts from the mountain peaks on high, let our worries of the week flow away. And as the mountain springs give forth fresh water, let our souls feel refreshed. As creeks join streams and become the great rivers, let our faith and love grow stronger. And as we stand in awe of the great beauty of the Rocky Mountains, let our faith in God increase and renew. And let this Shabbat be a time of peace. The top of page 28 as we continue.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Alkeinu Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbenu U'kumenu nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki ehem chayenu ve'orech yameinu Uvahem negei yomam v'layla Negei yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatcha al tasir Nimeinu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Ohev amo Yisrael.
Page 30, we invite up.
We're going to invite up Abby and Nathan and Siva and Maya to lead us in the Shema. And then Abby and Nathan, or just Abby. And Abby, then you can do the Haftarah for us too.
Gather in close. We continue on page 30.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod
Malchus. There you are.
Leolam Vael.
We continue.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shilantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha Uvlatecha vaderech, ubeshafecha uvkumecha, ushetam leot ayadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtatam amizo beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tiskeru vasitem ekol mitzotai, vihitam kedoshim leloechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti adchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
And your sermon for tonight will be what? That was very good. Thank you for leading us. Well, as the waters closed upon the pursuing Egyptians, they joined together. Micha Mocha, the middle of page 32.
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha neta b'kodesh, Nora tehilot oseh peleh, Nora tehilot oseh peleh. Malchutecha rovanecha, u'ke'ayom lifnei Moshe, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai 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 la 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 la, yai lai lai la lai la 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 la, yai lai la lai lai yai lai la lai, yai la lai lai la lai lai lai.
Well, on this Shabbat evening, we seek comfort and peace. We ask that you, dear God, shield us from hatred and destruction, plagues all the corners of our world, and console us in need. Page 34 at the top of the page as we join together. Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ehamidenu Malkeinu leChaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ehamidenu Malkeinu leChaim. Ushor Seiteinu Uvoeinu Lechaim Ushalom Me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'hamidenu Malkeinu leChaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'hamidenu Malkeinu leChaim.
Well, taken from the book of Exodus. In 6 days the Lord created heavens and the earth. The seventh day he ceased from his work and rested. And we have a choice of tunes.
Yeah.
We'll do the Houston tune.
Are we in the mood for an
Lively,
relaxing and calming, bringing Shabbat peace v'shamru, or are we in the mood for a ruach, peppy, enthusiastic v'shamru tonight?
What do you always do in Florida?
Slow,
Which
fast.
one is yours? The fast?
We're 50. I kind of feel that way too. I could. Anyone? Do you have
Okay,
a
we'll go
preference?
peppy.
We're going peppy. Okay.
I'll decide.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Well, there are those in our community who are in need of healing of body, mind, or spirit. If you have a person in your life in need of healing, please in a moment, take a moment to share their name aloud as they move about the sanctuary. We continue page 38, Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing and let us say Amen.
We keep in our thoughts and in our prayers Gail Balin, Sue Beiser, Linda Colin, Blanche Deutsch, Lynn Deutschman, Carol Ann Finn, David Freed, Jane Friedman, Deborah Goldman, Cliff Goldman, Donald Jaffe, Warren Janowitz, Mary Sue Katz, Skip Clowens, Herman Keek, Ryan Kushner, Renee Myers, Pedro Prince, Stephen Reese, Chip Ruth, Roberta Scheller, Sam Schwartz, Bill Silvers, Dina Stempler, Maury Strauss, Alan Tenenbaum, Tova Weinstock, Tevi Wellens, and Nikki Winokur. Thank you. Thank you.
Mekor habracha le'avoteinu. Let those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Turn to page 40 and rise as we continue with the Reader's Kaddish.
Yitkada ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'amad divra kirtei ve'amlich malchutei.
V'chayechon v'yomechon hayerecha be'Yisrael. Hagala magala uvizman kariv.
Ve'imeru.
Amen. Yesh me'Rabba mevarach ve'alam lameho maya yitbarach.
Yitzbarach v'yishtabach, yitzpar v'troma v'yitnaseh, v'yitzazar v'yitzaleh shemei d'kudsha
Brechu
le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata.
Tishbechata v'nechemata tamiran b'yama.
Ve'imeru.
Amen. Be not afraid of silence. It's more powerful than the unpolished word. It allows God's voice to be heard and allows tears and doubt to tumble out as we continue the top of page 42 and then silently through 57.
Adonai. Ananana satai tiftach. Ananana ofi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana satai tiftach. Ananana ofi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana satai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Adonai satai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha.
You may be seated when you've completed the Amidah. Page 56 as we continue with our prayer for peace and join with the cantor, Ose Shalom.
Ose Shalom Imromav Uya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru Amen. Ose Shalom Imromav Uya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru Amen. Ose Shalom Imromav Uya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru Amen. Ose Shalom Imromav Uya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru
Well, last week I had the opportunity to teach a Bible class for a Baptist church in Eagle. Where every so often I get a call, and usually afterwards they're a little bit sorry because of what I taught. Because we like to go back to the original Hebrew, and what I explained to them was that you don't just say, I'm going to read the Bible. We don't just read the Bible, we study it, because you have to study the words and begin to understand what it was. You get an idea from what I'm talking about from the parsha that we read this week, where it talks about accepting the Ten Commandments, and it was the example that I used of the difference between the English translation and what we see in the original Hebrew. Well, when we celebrated the festival of Shavuot this past week, we were celebrating the anniversary of receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai. After our ancestors crossed the Red Sea, they're now freed from slavery. After 7 weeks of dangerous march through the desert or the wilderness, they then arrived at Sinai and they accepted the commandments. The Israelites became a nation. It seems like such a simple story to understand. Maybe. Torah, in describing the giving of the law, says, "And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood at the bottom of the mountain." Well, the actual Hebrew for this phrase is "Vayis yatzvu b'sachtis hahar," which literally means they stood b'sachtis, under the mountain, instead of at the bottom of the mountain. So you could probably read that and just go on and think, well, that doesn't mean anything to me. But it seemed odd because, of course, in rabbinical school, we always have to study every word. And the Talmud explains, it said that this is the real meaning of what they were saying in the text. That God lifted the mountain and held it over his people, saying, if you accept my Torah, good. If not, boom, it's going to be your grave. In other words, you really have no choice. You have no choice but to accept the Torah. Otherwise, you're going to be buried underneath this mountain. How they think these up in the Talmud in the first century, I'm not really sure, but that's where they interpret it. And they said, well, the Israelites consequently accepted the Torah. Well, what a strange idea. It's not anything we were taught in Sunday school. And it's not what we were taught about regarding free will. I remember hearing that the Jews freely accepted the Torah. Well, Rabbeinu Tam was actually Rashi, one of the great commentators. This was his grandson. And he said, hold on a minute. Don't take all this stuff so literally. Think about it. If you had been there at this time and saw the presence of God descend from the mountain, as we were told, if you were there and you witnessed the miracles of the parting of the sea, then we too probably would have obeyed God's wishes. But still the Talmud asks, is this such a good way to accept the commandments? Kind of like a shotgun wedding. But no, the best way to accept the Torah, we're then told in their conclusion, is through free will. So Shavuot is a time of renewing our commitment to learn Torah. It's even a custom amongst many to stay up all night studying Torah. So in synagogues around the world, the Ten Commandments, those eternal, simple principles of right and wrong, they're to be remembered and discussed. But that isn't all that's to the holiday of Shavuot, as you saw at the beginning of our service. Because 4 times a year, Passover, the end of Simchas Torah, which is Shmini Atzeret, Yom Kippur, and on Shavuot, well, we include the memorial service called Yizkor. Now, it was a time when Jews gathered to mark, it's a day to remember, day of remembrance, but it's not about those who fell in battle. It's for our loved ones who are no longer with us, the parents and brothers and sisters, children, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, and relatives. Yizkor appears actually the first time during the Middle Ages in Europe. And these were the prayers that were recited on Yom Kippur, and the prayers originally were recited to remember the martyrs that were slain during the Crusades. So it was in the year 1295, such a memorial list was read in Nuremberg, Germany, and the custom soon spread throughout the country. Some years later, the practice began of saying Yizkor prayers on the 4 festivals as well. So in the generations following the Crusades, every family member knew someone in the community who had been destroyed by crusaders. So Yizkor, way back then, was an opportunity to remember these people. Well, years passed, and I think the connection was lost because we don't really refer to this before our Yizkor prayers. But it evolved into something else. It became something about the loss of a generation of loved ones. So Yizkor today, I think for myself and probably for all of you, it's a way of holding on to the memory of a dear one. Today it's a way of actually sanctifying their memory through prayer of those that we've loved and lost. And Yizkor today is a way of finding meaning in the lives of those that came before us. And tonight on Yizkor, we pray that their name may be a blessing. Amen. Well, for those of you that are newish to our service, don't feel badly if the tunes are a little bit different. I had to go on YouTube to figure out what some of these tunes were. Then after a while, you come a few times and you say, well, that's the regular L'Chad Odi. Why don't we do it in Houston or Boca or Miami? So it's really a mix of so many different things and so many different people that come to join us, which really makes it wonderful. If you haven't taken one of these beautiful brochures that Janet made, it's a new way of looking at our services and all the things coming up. We barely have a chance to take a breath with the many things that are happening. But to highlight just a few, this one on July 18th is a separate brochure. Most of the ideas come from someone else saying, do you think you could or should we do a program like this? And this one is The Crisis on Our Doorstep, and it talks about the opioid epidemic, and an amazing speaker is going to be coming. And Maggie Seldine is the guest speaker, and it's a bit of a Jewish perspective, but also it's all of us, and it's not something to ignore. So pick this one up. It's at the Beaver Creek Chapel, because we needed a space where we could host this and be able to share the story. I'm not going to go through the list of all these things, and they're changing and evolving as each day with more things happening. The one thing I did want to mention was at the second mountaintop service, which is, I think, the 30th. Is that right? 30th of July. We'll be dedicating a new Torah. So we already have our couple of Holocaust Torahs and the regular Torahs we read from. But this one is a Yemenite Torah. It's about almost 300 years old, made on deerskin. So I've finished going through it twice. It has 300,000 letters, and you have to go through every letter to make sure they're not touching, they're all darkened in, and they're all ready. So I've done that twice, and I've done the patching. Now we're going to put it on rollers. That's a whole other event we'll have, where we're going to be up here with a couple 8-foot tables. We'll spread out the Torah, and we'll attach it to the rollers for the very first time. And then at the mountaintop, we'll take it up. And because it's made out of deer skin, it's like nothing you have ever seen. Sewing it was like making moccasins. It's so thick. So I use a thimble, and then I use pliers to pull the needle through to stitch it, and it's truly beautiful. So I won't go through all of these things. We'll take the next half hour with our president-elect of the congregation, Steve Wellens. He'll go through all of these for us.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome everybody watching at home. We didn't know we had such a talented rabbi, although most of us do, and it's great to see such a nice crowd. I've said this for the last couple of weeks. Summer's here. You look outside, it's green, it's beautiful. But I think we were more reminded that summer was here today, because for a period of about 3 days, the Israeli flag was missing in Beaver Creek. Now, there's 30 flags or 25 flags flagging. You wouldn't notice it. But you can't believe how many people noticed the Israeli flag missing in Beaver Creek. It's back up. That just tells us there's a lot more people here. It was important, and it was refreshing to see the response from the community when they noticed that that was not here. So I want to thank the rabbi. I know he was very involved in that. A lot of us had conversations, so it's all good. I want to just mention a few things going on that I think are really, really important. And June 19th, the Leadville Cemetery, we're doing a cleanup. We've been doing it for years. If you've never been, I welcome you to join us. It's a wonderful experience. It's a drop back in time when you see the cemetery that goes back to the late 1800s, early 1900s. But it's ours, and it's part of Colorado, and we should embrace it. New member meeting, June 21st at Singletree. At the center there, we're going to have a welcoming for all new members. We welcome you to join us. June 28th, we're going to thank all of our outgoing board members. We're going to thank Sharon for a wonderful job of being president for 4 years. We invite you to come. There's a lot going on. I'm not going to go through everything, but I will mention one other thing, and I think it's becoming more and more important, and we invite you to participate. And that is June 29th, that we're going to do a Vail security training here in the chapel. It's open to the community. 2 sessions, morning or afternoon. We're not going to be teaching you firearm safety. We're going to teach you what to look for, awareness, what to do in an event. Something happens, whether it's here or somewhere else. We never want to be in that position, but I think in this day and age, this is really, really timely. We also, David Jaffe, who's going to be the Vice President of Administration, I've asked him to head up the security committee. If you want to be part of our security committee, we're going to be looking at ways to make the experience safer for our members, for our community, help us just have better awareness of what's going on so that we can come and celebrate Shabbat and not worry about things that are going on outside, at least in our little community here. So if you want to be part of that security committee, please just reach out to the synagogue, reach out to the rabbi, to Janet, to Jeannie, or myself, and we'll get you on that list. And if you're on that committee, in between those 2 sessions, I'm going to be hosting a lunch with our security consultant to do a little more in-depth training for those of us that are going to be part of that. So, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for coming. We look forward to seeing everybody every week. Thank you. Thanks.
Mexican flag that was down, no big deal. But you do not want to be at the main office in Beaver Creek when the FBI calls you and says, "Why is the Israeli flag down?" Yes.
Why was the Israeli flag down?
We'll talk about that afterwards. There were many, many different reasons. But when the head office of the FBI calls them and they say, "We'd like to talk to you about something that's going on," that flag's going to be up there for a long time. That was the only flag that was torn, right? Anyway, Cantor Michelle she's on her way to Chicago for a wedding that she's going to. But that doesn't matter. Owen's here. What's the date of your bar mitzvah? That sounds like it's really soon, doesn't it? Well, he's going to be leading us in Elena. This is just a good practice because you get to come up all the way up to open the ark, I'm going to give you the microphone to hold on to. We're all going to rise. He's going to lead us in Aleinu, page 60. You just go all the way up, open the ark, and then you'll lead us, okay? Mom, this is good practice, we're going to see. Okay, from right there.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gerula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoya haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, ve'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, Malhei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Natei Shamayim Ve'yosed Haaretz U'Moshe V'Karo B'Shamayim Imao U'Shchinatu Zo V'Gavhei Meromim Hi Eloheinu Einod Emet Malkeinu Efes Zulato Kakatu V'Torato V'Adata Hayom Lehashivota Elevavecha Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim B'Shamayim Mima'al Ve'al haaretz mitachat einod v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo Echad.
Okay, if you close the ark. What'd you think? He was good. It was really good. Well, you're ready. Thank you. That was great. At this moment, in memory of our loved ones who are no longer with us, we join hands in love and remembrance. A link has been broken in the chain that bound us together, yet strong bonds of home and love hold us one to another. In solemn testimony to their unbroken faith which links the generations one to another, we call to mind those whose yahrzeit we observe this month. Elizabeth Adler, Madeline Barnett, Mark Behan, Gloria Block, Anna Brightboard, Goldie Cohen, Herbert Dvorkin, Herbert Edinburgh, Estelle Fleischer, Inez Gerson, Harriet Goldberg, Eva Goldman, Bernard Kaplan, Eugene Kleinman, Frank Lautenberg, Stanley Lear, Sigrid Linz, Irma Lubin, Elaine Lustig, Florence Malman, Howard Marcus, Ludwig Meyer, Rafael Pichotto, Karen Pope, Shirley Port, Jacob Rice, Tara Rizzo, Leonard Rothman, Rhea Scheller, Marjorie Schaff, Lee Scrudders, Milton Schoenholtz, Marshall Siegel, Florence Singer, Shirley Steller, David Stern, Ann Waldbaum, and Phyllis Zerden. If anyone else is observing a yahrzeit. Thank you. The mourner's Kaddish can be found in our prayer books on page 64, and those who wish may join with us as we say, Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach v'rutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayeichon v'yameichon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kari v'imramein, Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitparach v'tmam v'nasei, yitzadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha b'rechu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma v'imramein. Yehi shlomo Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imramein. Oseh shalom v'imramah, Uyaseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imramein. may be seated. We know that rabbis can do anything. At least we give you that illusion that at the spur of the moment there's nothing we can't do. That's why I'm calling Rabbi Belgrade up here. I know you're a guest, and your son already did a great job when we talk about all your glass-blowing talents that you got from your father. But when there's a visiting rabbi, I love to have someone come up. We recognize you. You were Michelle's rabbi for a long time. He's going to be leading us in the Don Olam to the tune of the Georgia Fight Song, or a tune that you like. No. It's whatever tune you would enjoy. And we'll return to our prayer books. There we go, page 66. No pressure, right?
No.
Okay, you've been doing this long enough. Let's join together. And what's the tune?
I don't know the name.
Okay, here we go.
I don't know.
Asher Malah Terem Kol Sunivra V'yet Nasa V'chef Sakol Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Ya'arei Kiklot HaKol V'vado Yilof Nora Adon Olam Hu Haya Hu Hova Hu Yeh Tifara Adon Olam Asher Malach V'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra V'yet Nasa V'chef Sakol Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam
V'hu echad v'ein sheni L'ham shelo v'yachvira Adon Olam V'li reshit V'li tachlit V'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra Adon Olam Asher Malach
Getting fancy now.
V'terem kol Yitzir Nivra V'yet Nasa V'chef Sakol Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam V'hu Eli V'chai Gali V'tzur Chavli V'yitzara Adon Olam V'hu Nisi U'manosli Menakoti B'yom Nikra Adon Olam B'yado Achir Ruchi Ve'eti Sham V'ya'ira Adon Olam Ve'ima Ruchi Yavi'ati Adon Ali V'lo Ira Adon Olam Asher Malach V'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'nasa V'chef Sakol Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam.
I told you, rabbis can do anything. Thank you. Let's rise for a closing blessing. Adonai Ozli Amo Yitain Adonai Varecha Tamo V'Shalom. May the Lord grant strength into His people and bless all peoples with peace. Join together in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Peri Hagafen. Where's the glass one that you blew? We need like a tall, big glass one, I guess. Okay. Anyway. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz B'tei Ava. And happy birthday, Joan. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.